Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Berber, and welcome to the Onward Education podcast, where we will be celebrating and also discussing some of the challenges associated with having a neurodiverse child. So, I am an IRT, or some of you may recognize the term special education teacher, but I am taking a sabbatical this year because I decided that I wanted to make a difference in a different way than the public education system would allow me to do. So here I am. I've had so much experience with children who are neurodiverse and have all these gifts to share with the world, but they think differently than we do, and it takes different strategies to effectively teach and parent them. So that is what this podcast is about. It's about celebrating our children and learning how to help them feel better heard, better understood, and helping you, the parent, feel more confident in your ability to intervene with your child every day. So let's get started. Hello there. Thank you for listening to the Onward Education podcast. I am Michelle Berber, and today we'll be discussing how to help your child deal with transition and change. This is a hard one. My students at school, I know, sometimes even transitioning from recess to the next activity or from a really fun thing they're doing at their desk to the group activity they're supposed to be doing next. It can be really hard for them and really frustrating for the adult involved as well. So today we're going to talk about how to help your child through this and hopefully make a peaceful transition for everybody involved. The first thing, when possible, I know it's not always possible. We're going to talk about that next. But when possible, give your child plenty of notice of the upcoming change or transition. So, for example, maybe you know that next Tuesday is Aunt Sarah's birthday. Tuesday is usually the day that we go to the park after school and spend maybe 2 hours there playing on the swings, playing catch, things like that. It's a really special time of the week. But next Tuesday is Aunt Sarah's birthday. So, sitting down with your child and having that conversation to say, this is a special day for Aunt Sarah, and I'm making her birthday cake, so I'm going to need some time to do that after school. First of all, let your child kind of process that because even a week out, it might be met with some anger, some disappointment, some tears. So, give them space to feel that. Let them know it's okay to feel those things. And then when you feel the timing is right, talk about a few alternatives. So maybe Wednesday next week after school could be a park day instead. Or maybe there's time to go outside in the backyard before you make the cake. And have a game of catch or go on the swings for a few minutes. So still do a park activity, but in the backyard so you don't have to stop somewhere else. And there's still time to get the birthday preparations ready. You might find that your child asks a question like, well, why can't we have Aunt Sarah's birthday another day? And this is when our neurodiverse children, sometimes it's hard for them to put themselves in the shoes of the other person. So if they do ask a question like this, and I've heard these types of questions, it's it's a good opportunity for you to have that back and forth, that conversation with your child and say, yeah, I get it. I understand why you might think it would be better to have Aunt Sarah's birthday on a different day. But think about how important your birthday is for you. Remember when we went and we had that Nerf game, that Nerf gun game, and we had that big family celebration after, and we had cupcakes, and your aunt and uncle were there, and your cousins were there. Remember how special that made you feel? Because everybody wanted to celebrate you on your birthday. We want Aunt Sarah to feel the same way, right? So taking that question, which on the surface might feel kind of tricky to deal with, taking that question and turning it into an opportunity to have a conversation about it. There's no judgment. It was just a question. But to have that conversation about how to really perceive the situation from someone else's perspective, that's a thing that's tricky for our neurodiverse children. So it can be a great learning opportunity to springboard off of their questions like that. What happens if we can't give notice of change or transition? And we know that's life, right? Things pop up all the time and we don't necessarily know what is coming or when it's going to come. So this is probably the more real life scenario when things pop up. And you might find that your child is really angry, or you might find that they're really frustrated. And so let's take the scenario, for example, we're going to our favorite bakery, and there's a sign on the door and says that we're closed today because the owner is on vacation. So this might spark a really strong reaction right away, or you might not hear anything right away. But if there's a bit of silence in between, it's a good idea for you to take the opportunity to model, oh, I'm feeling really disappointed because I was really looking forward to the cinnamon buns this morning. How are you feeling? So you model it first and you let them know that it's okay to have negative feelings, or you can say, I'm feeling mad, I'm feeling frustrated. Um, but it's good for our kids to see that we're able to say these emotions as well, the ones that we kind of classify as negative. We want to remove that stigma. There's no such thing as negative emotions, but it's important to be able to name them. It's important to be able to talk about all of them, the whole spectrum. So give your child space to be able to process those emotions as well. And it's important to note that your child might not want you to come up with alternatives right now. So if you're finding that they're really upset, they're really frustrated, they're crying, it's probably not the time to try to step in with all the alternatives. I know that's what we want to do sometimes. We want to step in and find that perfect thing that's going to make it all better. But in some cases, your child just wants you to sit with them and to know that it's okay to feel these things. And if you listen to previous episodes, you'll notice that I've talked about having your toolkit and discussing collaborating with your child to have those 3 or 4 go-to strategies that your child knows helps bring them back to calm. So we're not giving them the strategies, we're collaborating with them and allowing them to give them to us too. And then having those as a visual in your bag, in your purse, whatever you're bringing along with you, to show your child, okay, I can see that you're feeling a lot of emotions right now. Let's pick one of our strategies. So it could be a tight hug. It could be their favorite music, favorite song. It could be they need to take a walk. It could be they need to do some push-ups. There are a lot of different things that can help bring our kids back to calm, but they often know what they need if we give them the opportunity to tell us. So having that toolkit with us at all times can be really helpful. Have the discussion when they're not feeling all the emotions, get them to reflect with you and make that list or make those cards. And then when the big emotions hit, you're equipped to be able to support them. Okay, so third thing is building the change muscle. And if you're finding that your neurodiverse child is struggling with change and transition, then it can be helpful to introduce small changes throughout your weekly routines. You can let your child know in advance. So, for example, if you're finding that Saturday morning is usually the day that you guys go get groceries, and that's the way it's been for maybe really long time, you might sit down with your child and say, okay, we're going to make a change to our Saturday schedule because we're finding that the grocery store is really, really busy on Saturdays. We're going to try going on Mondays instead. And your child might not like this right away, but you can talk them through it and say, well, it might save time. It might make it so that we have extra time on Saturday to do other fun things that you like. So, talking about this in advance gives you the opportunity to present the advantages of the change as well. So, having these small changes in the schedule can help your child build that muscle of adjusting to, oh, okay, things don't stay the same forever. Things do ebb and flow. And it's important to be able to handle the change when it comes. And you can even play with the last minute changes as well if you feel that your child's up to it on that particular day, because that will help them recognize that change both last minute and with notice. It's tough, but I can handle it. We have a very big transition coming up soon. If you're listening to this episode when it's being released, we have our kiddos going back to school next week. And now is a great time to start prepping them for that. Start having the conversations about the things that they really liked about last year, maybe the things they didn't like about last year at school, giving them space to talk with you and hopefully create a back to school plan together. So that might mean talking about what school mornings look like. and practicing getting up on time the week beforehand. It might involve talking about what bedtime works so that we can hit that getting up time. It might involve talking about lunch options and things your child can get excited about to put in their lunch bag. It doesn't have to be a negative conversation, but it's important to acknowledge the fact that going back to school, it is a big transition. And if they are feeling some anxiety or just a little bit of nervousness, that's okay. And to let them talk through that with you now, as opposed to it all hitting the first day of school when there are so many emotions running, anyways. All right, guys, I hope you found those three strategies helpful. And as always, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to have any questions that you might have swirling around in your heads. I'd love to answer them. Have a great day, and I'll chat with you again real soon. Bye now.